All right.
Welcome back, Bachelor Nation, with another episode of After the Final Rose with Dante and Alana. We are so sorry that we were slacking last week and we didn't put out an episode. I know we said we would, but honestly, with me being in New York and the holiday, we had no time to record. We were so busy with our families, but we're back today. We are so excited to talk about last night's episode. Definitely a lot to talk about. And I can't believe it. We are already on week 8. And after last night, I won't give it away, but we are officially down to 11 guys fighting for Tayshia's heart, which it seems like it's gone by so fast.
Yeah, it definitely has gone by fast, and I also think that's because we've only seen Tayshia for like 3 weeks,
That's
but
true.
I believe we do only have 3 episodes left, 3 or 4. I believe we're done like the
Oh,
21st.
wow.
Yeah, it's coming up quick, and then obviously we have the Bachelor season after, but it's gonna wrap up soon, and we may see Tayshia engaged at the end of this.
Yeah, I don't know. I think after last night's episode, I really can see some of these guys settling down with her. So I do hope she ends up engaged, for sure. But this episode starts off, which we kind of knew ahead of time. They had talked about, it's been in the news that Chris Harrison had to move his son into college, which totally understand. But with COVID issues, they had to bring in someone else so he can quarantine. And they brought back my favorite bachelorette of all time. I think she is the best bachelorette in history, JoJo. Um, and so of course they have JoJo step in for Chris Harrison and take over, his duties, even though she didn't really do too much, but Chris Harrison doesn't really do too much anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, I was excited to have JoJo on, and it has me thinking, when is Chris Harrison's time gonna come to an end as the host of the Bachelorette franchise?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we could start seeing some auditions soon. And like we did have Bachelor Live over the summer before COVID, and was that also a little sneak peek? You had Becca and Ben, and I think JoJo would make a great host, as well as somebody like
Yeah.
Ben Higgins or Becca Kufrin. And so, I mean, hey, could be coming soon. We don't know.
Yeah, I think they use JoJo because one, she is like one of the most loved bachelorettes,
Oh
and
yeah.
um her and Jordan have had a couple TV shows. So like she does have the TV experience where they know that she'll be good on camera.
Does she live in California? Or is she in Texas?
Mm,
I feel like she's in.
I think they have two homes. They have one in Texas, and I don't know. I don't think she's from California or lives in California, but they go there a lot. I think her and Jordan live in Texas.
Okay, so I wonder if they did bring in her to speak to Tayshia from Bachelorette to Bachelorette. I wonder if she was there and she was quarantining, and they were like, "We need somebody, so let's keep her here," because it is kind of random. I mean, JoJo's great, but it is kind of random.
Yeah, I mean, she's a while. I mean, it's been a while since she was on. I was still in college when she was a bachelorette. So it's definitely random, but I was happy to see her. I thought she's a great person for Tayshia to talk to because I mean, she's not married yet, but her and Jordan are still together. She fell in love. She did it all the right way. So it definitely was nice to see her sit down with Tayshia and just give her some good advice. But so we get a first one-on-one with Zach, which I'm pretty sure this is Zach C's first
Yeah,
one-on-one this season. And I'm really excited for Zach C. I think he is definitely a front runner. Like I called him being a front runner, but only based on like previews. But after this episode, I really think that he could be in the finals.
I definitely agree. And I don't think he really would be Tasha's type, but they fit well together. And he's just like,
Yep.
something about his personality just fits with her. And I think he could be somebody at the end. And if you were to say that in the beginning of the season, like he'd be a dark horse. And
Yes.
so I think he has a big chance at being the one at the end of it, or at least going in like the top 4, because he's one of the only guys
Yeah.
we've seen like a real connection with Tayshia.
Yep, and I was just gonna say that I think you can usually weed out like who's there to become famous or who wants
Oh
to
yeah.
be, wants a clout, but you could tell just when she walked out of in the first wedding dress when they were doing the photography shoot, the way he looked at her, you could
Hmm.
tell that he was just like he lost his breath, he was taken back. I really do think he's genuine and he is falling for her. And after they do the photo shoot, it was so cute. It definitely was not like a normal photo shoot that they do.
Hmm.
I don't know. It was weird. I guess maybe because of the setting and everything that's going on, but it was a little different from our usual like wedding shoots or it's usually a group date too,
Yeah.
where they're all like fighting over to be in the shoot. But we definitely got to see a whole nother side of Zach with this and like his playful side and having, just letting himself go with Tisha, but also afterwards when they sit down and eat dinner, like he really opens up
Oh yeah.
and we find out that Zach was already married, which Tasha really enjoyed because she was already nervous about that because she's been married
Hmm.
before. And then we find out, this whole backstory of him having a brain tumor and surgery,
Hmm.
which led to a drug addiction, which is very common for people who have surgeries and are put on painkillers and all that. But the way he told her his story, you could just tell that like he was scared to open up, but he wanted her to see that side of him and like not it, he didn't want it to be
Hmm.
a secret anymore.
Yeah, and I feel like every guy, I feel like a lot of these guys have like a backstory, and like we saw it with Ivan last week. We didn't get to talk about it because we
Hmm.
didn't have an episode, but like he has a backstory where his brother was arrested, and a lot of these guys have great backstories that we never got to hear when Claire was the Bachelorette.
Shouldn't
But
even
here,
ask.
didn't even ask. But here's another guy that was married uh, in his
Mhm.
past. I think that might be the fourth or fifth guy this season,
I
and
know,
we
I
didn't
was
see
trying
that
to
many
think,
guys.
who
You
else
had Brent,
just told her?
you had Brendan,
Brandon.
Zach. Um,
Brendan, yes.
there's a few of them. Bennett. That might have been. I think that was last week's episode where Bennett told her he was engaged, but it didn't end up being the right fit, so they broke it off.
Which
But
honestly, I think the reason why we're seeing this more right now is because a lot of these
they're
guys
older.
are older. You're
Oh
not going
yeah.
to see a 25-year-old who's already been married, which is usually that around the age that we see. But with these guys being
Hmm.
in their 30s, almost 40, like, yeah, they, there's a good chance that they were engaged or married before. So, yeah, it is definitely more common this episode or this season than it has been before.
Yeah. Um, but once, like I said before, I do like Zach, and I think
Hmm.
he probably has the strongest connection, him and Ivan, with Tayshia. So
Yeah, I agree.
after seeing this one-on-one date, I definitely think that he might be the front runner right now.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I completely agree. And then we move on. Well, he gets the rose, which I kind of,
Yep.
assumed after that date went
Assume.
so
Yeah.
well. And then they have a group date and I thought it was funny because of course, so everyone's on this group date except for Zach and Easy because they're the two one-on-ones. And I
Hmm.
thought it was hilarious because as they're walking into this date, they see two naked people and they're doing like an art sculpture, which is normal to see if you're doing something like that. But Blake is like, I have been on like 4 different dates already where I have had to strip down my clothes. And I was just dying because he's like, not again. And I was like, oh my God, is ABC really going to make them all get naked
Oh yeah.
again?
I
But
was
of
already
course
getting
they
ready to
didn't.
come on here and talk about it because I
Yep.
mentioned this in our last podcast that they've already been half naked
Yeah.
3 times when they were in the pool, when they were playing dodgeball, and I'm pretty sure there was one more. And
With Claire, or when they had a run back, they ran back in, was that the dodgeball? Oh, wrestling, right?
oh,
Wrestling. They
wrestling,
were
yeah, wrestling,
completely,
wrestling, yeah,
yeah,
and it just didn't doesn't stop.
yeah,
But
for
I thought it
sure.
was an interesting group date. So they had to first draw what was happening. So like the two naked people, and obviously their drawings were horrible, but they were
Yeah.
funny. And so then they ended up having to. would they make like clay like sculptures?
Yes, and it was supposed to represent like I don't know if it was not Tayshia specifically, but like their time with Tayshia, I think, or
Yeah,
like it had
which
to
I don't
incorporate
think
her.
any of them ended up doing. What's his
No.
name? Bennett ended up doing like their
He
future
had the
homes
heart.
one.
Yes.
Yeah, which ended up him like gloating about his money.
Yeah, that was
And
stupid.
then Blake decided to make a penis, which I didn't understand how that correlated with any of it. I mean, I guess
I think he
because
just did it to be like I think he is a
100%.
goof. Like he's totally can't be serious.
Oh yeah. And Spencer was saying it. He was like, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with Blake where he hasn't talked about like sex. Which I like. I'm kind of surprised with Blake. I mean, he does seem like a funny guy, but like he's also
Yeah.
been one of the most serious guys on this season.
That's true because I mean, the first week we got really, first week we got really serious with him. Can we mention you skipped over the fact that um Noah is sitting down and Tayshia is about to grab the seat next to him, and Bennett
Mm-hmm.
literally comes over like a big bully and is like, actually, that's my seat. And Noah was like, wait, what? And he was like, yeah, that's my seat. If I was Noah, I would have just stayed there and made
Right?
him look like an idiot to Tayshia. But I did understand that, like, he was like, I didn't want to make a scene. It
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
worth it, which is looks good on his part. But I was dying because I was like, there's no assigned seats. Like, just stay put and let him look stupid. But of course, he gets up and then Bennett gets to stay with Tayshia the whole time, which was,
I
a
thought the
start
same
to the
thing
rest
that
of our evening.
he should have said something. But Bennett just keeps putting fuel on the fire, which we'll get to later on. But what they had to do next in the group date is like paint on a portrait their feelings and their past and
Supposed to be like a
who they
personal, like self portrait.
yeah. And we got guys really opening up. You had Ivan.
So many.
And I thought what Blake did was really cool. But Riley spoke about his history with his mom. I don't think they're like
Mhm.
that close. And maybe
No, they
it
didn't have a
seemed like she kind
relationship.
of
Now they do,
abandoned
he
him or
said.
never had,
Mhm.
never had a relationship growing up or maybe as he got older. But he
Mhm.
spoke about a phone call with her, and he was saying something along the lines of like I think always wants to be there for his kid like his mom never was,
Yep.
and like
Yep.
that's what he looks forward to in his relationship if Tayshia and him were to go on in the end of this and start a
Yeah.
family, that he would always be there for her and for their kids.
Yeah, he gave a very heartfelt story. You said Blake. Um, Brendan killed it.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought that was really like such a good idea because it was like the least work possible, but he looked like Tisha loved it. Um,
Oh yeah.
who who else? I feel like I didn't understand Bennett's with the like needles and stuff, or I didn't
Oh
get
yeah.
that one. I feel like Ivan had the puzzle pieces, which was really
Yes.
sweet, and I liked that. And he had her come up and do it. But Ben, so they made the whole episode so dramatic, which is typical Bachelor. And I thought he was gonna just like give this really ugly picture, or like they showed him stressing out. You could see him in the background, like sweating, like freaking out. And I was like, he's just gonna be the worst painter, and it's not gonna be good. And then he totally takes the switch and he comes out and just like completely naked, covering his crotch. And he's just like, I'm here. This is me. Like, I'm going to be vulnerable, which we learn later on that he had an eating disorder, which now
hmm
that I know that, it is even more of a symbolism for him. But yeah, I just thought it was such a big moment for him. And you could tell that Tayshia was really just taken back by it. Um, but I couldn't stop laughing. I was cracking up because I think no one expected it. Even the guys
Oh
were
no.
just like, wait, what is going on?
When he left, what did you think he was going to grab? Because he goes, "Give me a second, I have to go grab something." What did you think he was going to grab?
I had no clue.
I see. Right when he left, I was thinking he was going to maybe go get dressed in his. He was in the military or army. I was thinking he was going to go get in his uniform and that was going to be like a symbolism
Oh,
of his past and who he was. That's what I thought was
that
happening.
would
And
have
then he
been
came back in
cool.
a robe and started stripping down. I was like, all right.
Yeah, not what
But
you thought.
I also think we talked about Zach as like a front runner. I think Ben is as well because he's one of the guys
Mm-hmm.
that has had an instant connection with Tayshia, and he's actually been vulnerable with her. And I think he's a front runner. I think he could have been a great bachelor if they didn't already choose Matt. Um, but I mean, I'm rooting for Ben. I think he's definitely progressed since the one episode where he just didn't feel like talking to Tayshia, or
Yeah.
he just held back from talking to her. So he's
Yeah.
definitely putting himself out there, and she's noticing, and that's going a long way for him.
Yeah, you can I think she really every time he does something, she's always just like Ben, Ben, Ben. Like you can tell that she has a major crush on him.
Oh yeah,
And
and
she has to
I think he's Tayshia's type. You know, we've seen he's a mix between Sirius and JPJ. I
mm-hmm.
think he's got a slight JPJ side, and then he
Yeah.
has like a slight Colton side and a slight like Derek, like all three mixed together.
I
And
forgot about Derek.
like we've always talked about like what is her type, and like I think
Yeah.
Ben is her type because it's a mix of
Yeah, I could see
everything.
that. Yeah, for sure. So she runs out of the room and we see her like completely break down crying, which I think
Mm-hmm.
anyone would do that. I mean, all these guys are giving like these heart warming stories that she has no clue about. So she probably wasn't expecting
Mm-hmm.
that. Honestly, she probably didn't think she was going to get this much out of the guys. But I did like that she came back and she was like, truly, I can't pick one of them, because I was honestly like, who is she going
Mm-hmm.
to pick after that? And you know, she didn't do a one-on-one after. She had a whole group date.
Mm-hmm.
And when is Bennett gonna drop the whole Noah thing? Like you know what he reminds me of is a teenager who just like has to jab, 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 and nitpick. Like every time Noah opens his mouth, it's like, what can I say now? Peanut gallery. That's the best word for it. He's a peanut
Right.
gallery. And it's like, oh my God, just stop and like drop it.
And I
And
feel
I
like
think,
Noah's not really fighting back, and like he's not doing
no, because he's
like
over it.
he was like annoying at first, and he did overstep, but he hasn't done anything. Like he literally
Yeah.
hasn't done anything since, and it's literally just Bennett just continuing to go at him and pick away at
Yep.
him.
Yeah, that was annoying. But yeah, so Riley then takes her and we get to hear more about his story, which was nice to hear. Ben tells us about the eating disorder, which was big because you don't see that a lot in men
Mm-hmm.
on TV as well. So I thought that was big for him. And then I think I think Ben got a rose after that.
Yes, Ben got the group date rose that night.
Yes. But and then it's just like I just feel like the drama doesn't stop. But I really am happy to finally get some stuff out of these guys because it has taken
Oh,
forever for us
definitely.
to get to know them, and like so many of them I can't wait to see on Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're all just really good.
Which might we add was officially renewed this week. It will be back this summer, which I'm not. But now I'm curious if summer games, if that'll be official. I know this is all off topic, but that was supposed to be last
They
summer. But now that they officially announced Paradise, will summer games be with that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, with COVID and stuff, they may just keep it
It may
down
be
to
tougher, especially with people
yeah,
coming from other countries, with how it's supposed to be.
true, yeah.
But back to the group date, it ended with Tayshia confronting Bennett and Noah, and she was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. And
Oh, yes.
we don't find, I don't know if it was that day, or I believe it was the
Mhm.
morning of the rose, or yeah, the rose ceremony, where
Yep.
JoJo came in and was like, you guys are going to meet with Tayshia. Only one of you can stay and one will be going. So it was like a 2-on-1, which we'll get into. But before all of that, we had a 1-on-1 with Easy, which I've been waiting for because I loved with
No.
ED because a lot of stuff has come out about Easy lately. But I loved Easy this season.
I know. He was day one. He got out of the limo, and I was just like, I don't care if he ends up with who's here, but I loved him. And I really wish they would have just been patient and waited because as much as everyone's excited for Matt James, like Easy would have made the best bachelor. Everyone loves him.
Uh-huh.
So many people would have tuned in for him. Like he has a personality, he's funny, he's just everything. And I'm just,
Hmm.
I
But yeah,
loved Easy.
he finally got his one-on-one date with Tayshia, and it
Mhm.
was like it was like a haunted house like mystery,
They were
and
ghost
they
hunting.
yeah, ghost hunting. And I
Yeah.
thought it was corny as hell, but it was cute. Just
It
because
was
like
very cute.
he said this like this is the perfect date to go on with her.
Mhm.
Um but like how scared really were you? Like how much was that for just for camera? I don't
Yeah.
know. It was kind of corny and cheesy in that sense.
But it was sweet. He was like, you could tell they both were scared, and he was like trying. He definitely was not trying to be like Mr. Strong for her. Like
On.
he totally was screaming with her and like terrified.
Mhm.
And you could tell that he just really was into her. And especially, afterwards when they go into the excuse me, when they go into the date, or the dinner date, he really starts to open up about how he
Yeah.
feels for her and that he's falling for her. And I think that was just when Tasha realized, like, I do feel bad because I think that you could tell she really liked Easy, but you could tell it was a friendship. Like they
Mhm.
hadn't been romantic, they hadn't had any type of like chemistry. So for her, I understood where she was coming from, that it was like, okay, he's telling me he's falling for me and I'm not even there yet. But I
Mhm.
just wish she would have waited cuz I don't know. I thought he was so good. I didn't want him to leave.
Well, I loved when he said he was like in a relationship, like how you feel is how I feel. So when you're scared, I'm scared. When you're happy, I'm
I know.
happy. And like when you want to scream, I scream. And then Tasha just ripped his heart out of his chest
I
and
know.
was like, I just don't feel this way with you and I can't keep you around. And so I wonder if like was this whole date set up knowing like this seems like something you go with your friends to. Was this all set up knowing that you're gonna send Easy home? What? But you just
Well,
needed that validation.
she did say that she really liked him, but she hadn't felt like the chemistry and romance with him yet. Like she wasn't at that point where the other guys she was. So I do think in that sense she was like, I want to know if I feel like this is more than a friendship, and I don't think she did. So that's why she sent him home. But oh my god, it broke my heart because I think he truly was like not expecting it when he walked out and was like,
Mhm.
wait, is this, he goes, Tasha, is this real? And I was
Oh
just like,
yeah.
oh my god, this poor guy. Like she's truly missing out on a really good guy. But I can't wait for him to be on Bachelor in Paradise. I hope
Mhm.
he finds like a good girl.
Yeah, definitely. And so he was sent home, and then like I talked about before, JoJo, she ended up talking to Bennett and Noah on the day of the rose ceremony, and she told them that there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a 2-on-1. One of you is going to get sent home, and one of you is going to stay. Which we have seen in the past. Two of the guys on the 2-on-1 have been sent home,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't. Even though they know that in this is a big issue now, they don't stop going at each other.
Oh
And
my
so
god.
Bennett, he brings gifts right before the 2-on-1. He brings gifts for Noah, and one was a red bandana, something having to do with the ranch in Oklahoma, I believe, with
Yep.
Noah. And then I'm trying to remember the second gift, socks with
With
a
mustaches on
mustache on
them.
it, which obviously Noah was sporting the mustache, and then a book, which I tipped, threw it over the edge. The whole issue with the two is it was like an intellectual book, like teaching,
Emotional intelligence,
yeah.
which is
And
back to
this
square
was
one
just
with
Bennett,
Taylor.
yeah, and it was Bennett just continuing to jab at Noah, and then Noah's just sitting there like taking it all in and
Mm-hmm.
like not going back at him.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe like that whole gift thing was so condescending, and he tried to
Mhm.
make it like, oh, this is I'm a peacemaker and this is my peace offering and yada yada yada, and it was like, no, it's not. You are so condescending.
Right?
You're saying that you're not belittling him and you're not talking down to him, but you're telling him
Oh,
pretty much that
definitely.
he's immature and needs to work on his emotional intelligence. Let me tell you, I've met, like, I'm 25 and I've met people my age that are way more mature than people that I know in their 30s. So, or even 40s. So just because Noah's younger than Bennett and didn't go to Harvard doesn't mean he's like, not an asshole, but doesn't mean he's, not smart or not mature. And I hate the emotional intelligence because it just brings me back to Nick's season with Taylor and Corinne, I think.
Mm.
Um, and she kept saying like the whole emotional intelligence, whatever. It's like, come on. Like, I don't know, grow up. Like, oh, he said my favorite thing. I'm trying to love you up. I'm not trying to put you down. And it was like, you don't like this guy. You want him to go home. Don't try to say that you love him up like he's your friend.
Mhm. And also,
Ugh.
like, Bennett's been continuing to bring it up, but he was like, "You stand absolutely no chance with Tayshia, and you're just not the one for her. So there's no point in continuing to keep going." And then um, Noah, he was like, I'm trying to remember the exact words. He was like, "Would you say that with Tayshia sitting right there?"
Mm.
And Bennett was like, "Yeah." And so I'm very curious in this next episode, are we going to see Bennett say that to Tayshia's face?
I don't think we're going to get to it. I think that it ends with her saying, "What's that gift?" I think when she sees what Bennett gave to him, those three things would make me send Bennett home.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think Bennett will go home because of that gift. And I don't, I honestly, well, they didn't even show in the previews for next week. You don't see Noah or Bennett. So I wouldn't be surprised if both went home.
Both of them get
But
sent home.
Bennett's definitely going home after that gift when she sees it. She
Well,
doesn't put up with that.
I think Noah and her actually had a connection. And I don't think her and Bennett have really had a connection. I think it's kind of been forced. But
Mm-hmm.
I think her and Noah have actually bonded and have formed a relationship. So
Yeah.
that may keep him. But I think I agree they might both get sent home, and I would not be surprised if they do.
Yeah. Because Tasha's connection isn't strong enough with him. Where I think if she was like, you know what, just send them both home, they're both being childish, it wouldn't
Hmm.
be a shocker. But of course, ABC ends right there. So we don't get to see this whole 2-on-1. But hopefully next week it won't take up the whole episode and it'll just be like the first couple minutes and then we'll move on to a rose ceremony, which means we're going to lose a couple more guys next week. So this
Hmm.
really is, I mean, dwindling down. But thought I would mention because we didn't get on last week. We did have another bachelorette win Dancing with the
Oh yeah.
Stars. So congratulations to Caitlin Bristow. I knew the day that they announced Caitlin Bristow, she was gonna win because ABC eats that shit up, and she's a huge fan base, so I wasn't surprised. But I don't think there was any other bachelorette news.
since I'm trying to remember if we have talked about it or if it happened since our last podcast, but Jade ended up having her kid.
Yep, we talked about
I don't
that,
remember the
and then
name of it.
Crystal
Oh yeah.
announcing her pregnancy.
Oh yeah.
No, both baby
Yeah.
newses.
I think
But I think,
that's pretty much it.
yeah, I think that's it.
Who do you think in the next episode, who do you think may get sent home? I'm thinking probably Ed.
Yes,
Because
I
he's
hope
just kind
so.
of
Because
been there.
yeah, I think
I'd
Ed,
say Ed.
Spencer,
Spencer. Maybe.
and Damar.
I think we might see Blake get sent home.
I could see that too.
I feel like he's kind of just there at this point.
Yeah, because I don't think, honestly, like, even though I really like Damar, I don't think she's had a big connection with him. We haven't
No.
seen much with Blake. Um, not much with Spencer since like the first episode when he joined.
Yeah.
And Ed, there's been nothing either. So it's got to be at least 3 out of those 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which would bring us down to under 10.
Yeah. I think they're gonna send at least 3 people home. Probably also one of the guys for the 2-on-1, so we may
Yeah.
see 4 get sent home because they're gonna start narrowing this down, especially since there's only 3 or 4
Yes.
weeks left. So
Yep.
I definitely think they're gonna start sending guys home.
I
But the
know.
season is wrapping up, and so is this episode. So make sure you follow us on Instagram at ATFR_podcast, as well as following us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other podcast streaming platforms. Make sure to turn on notifications so you know when we post, or also post on our Instagram, because we are uploading the videos now on Instagram TV as well as our YouTube channels. Make sure you check out that as well. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week, where we may have more information on whether Noah or Bennett is sent home, and if our predictions were right for the other guys being sent home.
Yeah. All right. We'll see y'all next week. Bye, guys.
See ya.